When I was experiencing domestic violence, my first priority was to hide that I was going through the violence. I was really ashamed of it when I realized that it was emotional abuse that I was going through. And so that was my number one priority, was to hide it from people who knew me or even people who didn't know me. Healthcare was not a priority for me. I became full of anxiety, and the anxiety had built up so much in me that I started to have chest pains. And I went to a healthcare provider, not at Bridgercare, and told her I was experiencing these chest pains. And she went through a whole bunch of questions with me. None of them were related to anything personal. Had I gone to someone who could provide that care, knowing what signs to look for, I might have exited that relationship sooner. I endured that anxiety and that emotional abuse for about another year after seeing that healthcare provider. She just told me to check back with her if it didn't go away. And so I never went back.
The first time I heard about Bridgercare was about a year ago, long after I moved here, but I first came about 7 months ago when I was 21.
I got involved with Bridgercare through fundraising initially, and now through more volunteer work.
I'm on some pretty poor health insurance, so I would be pretty upset if I couldn't find a place with a similar sliding scale. As a bartender, I don't make as much as most people, so the sliding scale really helps me out for financial purposes.
Healthcare is so critical, and if it's not welcoming, then LGBT people are way more likely to not seek out that healthcare.
They are very inclusive of everyone, and they don't make any assumptions on who your sexual partner is.
It's just amazing that this facility exists in this town.
I heard about Peer Ed kind of through the grapevine. One of my friends, who is also now a peer educator, one of her older siblings was a peer educator, and she strongly encouraged all of us to apply and give it a shot. It's been really hard to see all of the unfortunately negative outcomes that result from a lack of knowledge and a lack of information given in our school system. I think that it's really important for teens to be teaching their peers, because without those peer-to-peer interactions, some of the information that people are giving and receiving can feel really disconnected and really irrelevant in some respect, just because if you're hearing it from somebody who you really can't relate to, then why listen to the information at all? Everything that I've learned has been extremely beneficial to me, and really my overall understanding of not only my community here in Bozeman, but of global issues really that I think need to be addressed and that we're addressing here on a smaller scale.
I think Teen Clinic is really important for my peers because it makes healthcare really accessible.
It provides an opportunity for people to get sexual health care, and especially if they can't afford that sexual health care or they're uncomfortable with going with their parents.
I know a lot of people in my grade or at my school don't have a means to pay for this health care.
It allows people to focus on their health rather than anything else.
I always feel cared for, and I always feel like I'm given fact-based information that I'm allowed to take into my own interpretation. I feel like I'm not pushed to do anything that I'm uncomfortable doing.
I feel very strongly that adding integrated behavioral health is an important thing to do for our patients. It's estimated that about 25% of all people will experience a mental health problem each year. And we know that people who experience mental and behavioral health issues struggle more with chronic illness. Many providers of behavioral health in our town are booked out for appointments several weeks to months at a time. They can't access care immediately, and then that discourages them from making the appointment even in the first place. When people are struggling with mental health or behavioral health issues, these problems sometimes lead them to make choices that really impact their health in a negative way. And we see that in our clinic every day. Having somebody here on site that can immediately lend assistance to our patients will just be a huge asset for Bridgercare.
Bridgercare matters to survivors of domestic violence because it provides a safe and confidential place for them to receive health care.
We provide free and confidential services to all clients referred from Haven, Family Promise, and Aspen.
When I finally decided that my relationship needed to be over, I went through a lot of different emotions. It was a really scary time in my life, and I didn't have the financial resources to leave, and there were a lot of other reasons, other barriers to me leaving. And when I did that, it was one of the bravest things I've ever done in my life. I didn't reach out for help, and I didn't seek therapy, and I didn't contact a healthcare provider. I just really internalized it and kind of moved on from it. Had I had that connection and someone to support me, I would have likely gone through that a lot easier, and it would have been better for my health. And 12 years later, I'm just dealing with the anxiety and the PTS, and so I might have started to deal with that sooner had I had that HavenCare available to me.
I just want to say that the staff here is incredible, and they are super nice and super helpful.
Personally, Purette has had a huge impact on my life and how I navigate my relationships, and just the personal connections that I've gained from the experience itself. I've made lifelong friends.
The providers at Bridgercare are familiar with domestic violence. They know what to look for if a patient comes in and maybe is showing signs that they are in an abusive relationship. And just having that level of care is really important to survivors and victims of domestic violence.
I think it's a very good thing that Bridgercare is here for the whole community, literally the whole community, to whether that's men's sexual health, women's health, trans health, all of us. It's such a healthy thing for our community.